Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Thank you all for joining. We will continue with the Bhagavad Gita. We are still in chapter 4, Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter 4. We will start with verse number 15 and go on till verse number 21. Verse 15. Evam tatma kritam karma purvairapi mumukshubhi kuru karmeva tasmatvam purve purvataram kritam. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. All the liberated souls in ancient times acted with this understanding of my transcendental nature. Therefore, you should perform your duty following in their footsteps. Om Agyanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmanitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So we see here Krishna is talking about this understanding. So it's important we know what is this understanding that he's talking about. In the previous verses, he told Arjuna that no work affects him. No work can affect Krishna. And Krishna has no desire for fruits of any action. So that is the understanding. If we understand this, then Krishna says there'll be no more entanglement. And in this verse that we recited just now, he's talking about liberated souls. Who are these liberated souls? These liberated souls are the ones that have performed devotional service with knowledge, not with blind faith, with knowledge. They took this knowledge from the Bhagavad Gita and then they performed devotional service and they got purified. As we go through the different chapters of the Bhagavad Gita, practically everywhere Krishna is talking about performing devotional service, which means doing seva, doing service, but with devotion. And devotional service starts with mantra meditation. When we chant the Maha Mantra, then automatically the senses start getting controlled. Because until and unless we are able to control our senses, we cannot reach the liberated stage. Now, in the purport of this verse, Srila Prabhupada talks about two kinds of people. One who is materially free and the other who is materially polluted or contaminated. And Bhagavad Gita benefits both kinds of people. It doesn't matter if one is very materialistic or one is spiritual. So this Bhagavad Gita, it helps one with the help of knowledge to cleanse ourselves. And it's a gradual process. It's not an instant like, you have 2-minute Maggi noodles or instant coffee. No, it doesn't work that way. So there is a process, and Krishna is going to explain to Arjuna. He's already started explaining the process, how he started off with, in chapter 3 he talked about karma yoga. Again, in chapter 5, he'll talk about karma yoga. But this chapter number 4 is entitled Transcendental Knowledge, where Krishna is giving knowledge to us how we can cleanse ourselves. First of all, we need to know what kind of actions to perform and how to perform those actions so that there are no more reactions. So this cleansing can happen when there is discipline. Discipline means following the rules and regulations. In fact, the rules need to be followed everywhere, whether we go to school, we go to college, we go to work, in all different aspects of life, we need to be disciplined, need to follow the rules. So also in spirituality, we need to follow. Then there's going to be some cleansing of the heart. So here, Krishna is telling Arjuna that there is no need to give up work like Arjuna. In we see in chapter 1 and then again in chapter 2, he's confused, he's lamenting. He's a kshatriya, he's a soldier, he needs to fight, but he doesn't want to fight. He wants to run away from his prescribed duty. He wants to, in fact, retire. He's a young man, but he wants to retire. He wants to go to the forest or the Himalayas. So all these things, he's thinking because he doesn't want to do his duty, his work as a kshatriya. So here Krishna is saying there's no need to give up work. It's just that we need to learn how to perform our activities. And in chapter 3, we learned that it should be a karma. A karma means following the scriptures and at the same time not desiring to enjoy the fruits of our activities. When we act in that consciousness, when we perform a karma, then there are no more reactions. So when there are no more reactions, then there's no more suffering. So this is how we break this cycle. So here we see that Arjuna is not wanting to fight, and Krishna is giving him knowledge, advising him to fight, but in the right consciousness. That is very important. Consciousness is important. So one needs to understand in what consciousness we need to perform our activities. Let's see verse number 16. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Even the intelligent are bewildered in determining what is action and what is inaction. Now I shall explain to you what action is, knowing which you shall be liberated from all misfortune. So here he's giving us, Krishna is through Arjuna giving us a formula how to become fortunate, how to become liberated from all misfortune. He wants to give him knowledge what is action and what is inaction. These two are very, very important to understand. Most people in this material world get confused about this. So in the very next verse, he's going to explain more in detail about this. Excuse me. Sorry about that. So we see here we get the process of liberation from misfortune. And for that, we need guidance. Just like students need guidance in school and college, even in spirituality, we need guidance. So if we follow the authorized personalities, excuse me. So if we follow authorized teachers, who, as we learned in verse number 2 of this chapter, where Krishna says, Evam parampara praptam, that this knowledge, this spiritual science need to be received in a strict disciplic succession, which means coming down from the Supreme Lord Krishna all the way down. So then the authenticity of the data is maintained because each teacher that is there in that succession is following his teacher and his teacher and his teacher, going all the way to the Supreme Lord. You see, we human beings, we have 4 defects, right? We have tendency to cheat, we have imperfect senses, we are in illusion, and we make mistakes. So if we are imperfect, how can we give perfect knowledge? Perfect knowledge comes only from the perfect source, which is Krishna, the Supreme Lord. So here, Krishna is saying that even the intelligent are bewildered. Even the intelligent cannot understand what is action and what is inaction. See, so the Bhagavad Gita teaches us not only just, gives us the knowledge about, our own identity, but it also gives us the dharma. Dharma means laws of the Supreme Lord. Just like we cannot manufacture the state laws or the laws of the country, no, that the government has the authority to do. Similarly, the laws of this world, the laws are given to us by the Supreme Lord Himself. It cannot be manufactured. So it's important that we follow the Bhagavad Gita and understand, like in this today's, just now, the verse that we read, where Krishna is saying, now I shall explain to you what is action. And then with that knowledge, one can liberate oneself. So action is important, but action should be performed in such a way that there is no reaction. That is important. So here we see that in the purport, Srila Prabhupada talks about the principles of religion, they are laid down by the Supreme Lord. And as I mentioned, we cannot manufacture the laws of the Supreme Lord. Let's see what he says in verse number 17. Krishna says, the intricacies of action are very hard to understand. Therefore, one should one should know properly what action is, what forbidden action is, and what inaction is. So he's talking about three things. But before we go there, the first sentence is very, very important. The intricacies of action are very hard to understand. That means it's very hard to understand our karma, our past karma. Many times people say, why am I suffering? I'm such a nice person. I've only done good things and I'm still suffering. So this is all something to do with past karma. Then people say, oh, I want to know what wrong did I do in my past that I'm suffering now. Here Krishna is saying very clearly, it's very hard to understand. It's not mathematics where you can say, oh, 2 plus 2 equals 4. No, it's very hard to understand. So when we take on the knowledge from the Bhagavad Gita, then gradually we understand past karma cannot be changed. Those actions we've already performed, and now we are reaping the reactions of those actions. But what we do right now, at the present moment, what we are doing now is going to determine our future reactions. So if one is very serious about liberation, serious about breaking the cycle of suffering, serious about going back to the spiritual world, then one needs to understand what is action, what is inaction, and what is forbidden action. And of course, we know every action has an equal and opposite reaction, and the intelligent person will stop this cycle of reactions. Then automatically the cycle of sufferings is also going to end. So to understand what is action and inaction, or action and reaction, one need to first understand the relationship with the Supreme Lord. Who are we? What is our relationship with Krishna? That is what we need to understand. What is our constitutional position? Right? We, as parts of the Supreme Lord, our constitutional position is to be the servant of the Supreme Lord. And this all we can understand only when we start associating with like-minded people, associating with spiritually inclined people. Then we will be able to really understand. So in chapter 3, we learned about karma, karma, and vikarma. These are the three things. The reason I'm talking more about chapter 3 is because most of you have missed that chapter. So I'm trying to correlate it with these verses in chapter 4. So karma is, we follow the scripture, we follow the laws of the Supreme Lord in a selfless spirit, No, not in a selfless spirit, which means we are performing actions according to the scriptures, but we want to enjoy the fruits of our activities. That is karma, which means there are going to be reactions. And that becomes a stumbling block on the path of self realization. Now, what is a karma? I already explained that we are following the laws of the Supreme Lord, but we have no desire to enjoy the results of our activities. And that is how there are going to be no reactions. And then if there are going to be no reactions, then there'll be no suffering. Now, what is vikarma? Vikarma is opposite, which means one is not following the laws of the Supreme Lord and leading a sinful life. So then obviously there are going to be very bad reactions. Verse number 18. One who sees inaction in action and action in inaction is intelligent among men, and he is in the transcendental position, although engaged in all sorts of activities. Very interesting verse. It can be confusing too, but it is very interesting. So let's take the first option. There are two options. One is action in inaction, and the second one is inaction in action. So the first one, a person may be performing activities, but actually it is as good as not performing any activities, which means not incurring any reactions. That is called action in inaction. Is it confusing? Very confusing. Let's do it again. So there are two options. One is performing actions, but actually it is as good as not performing any actions because there are no reactions being incurred, which means one is performing a karma. Inaction in action. Another one is a person is not doing anything, but actually is incurring sinful reactions, even though not performing anything. And still, it's considered to be action. How? Let's see. When we are breathing so many, I don't know whether you call them germs or organisms or whatever you may call it. When we are breathing, we are killing them. So that is a sinful action, even though I'm not doing anything, I'm just breathing. That is inaction, but actually it's action because it's producing reactions. That's when we are walking on the road, we are stepping on so many probably ants or bugs or whatever living entities may be there. We are not really doing anything, but actually we are performing action and getting reactions. So this is how Krishna is trying to explain that one should perform activities in such a way that there are no reactions. That is like as if one is not doing anything, and that is an intelligent position, and that is also a transcendental position. So what is the secret? Following the laws of the Supreme Lord, not desiring any results or desiring to enjoy the fruits. That is called karma free life. Still going to work, still earning money, still taking care of family, but the whole consciousness is changed, no reactions. So this is very, very important to understand, that if we do not understand, then we become liable for all the reactions. And gradually these reactions accrue, they, start, getting more and more and more. And then a person starts going far, far away from transcendental position. Now we, as the spirit soul, we are the spirit soul, we are very active. So we cannot, try to artificially attempt to, do inaction. Artificially we cannot do. That will lead to more danger. The senses, they need engagement. I cannot, say, oh, from now on onwards, I'm not going to see, or I'm not going to hear, or I'm not going to taste, and that is not possible. Senses, they need to be engaged, but engaged properly. When we engage the senses properly, then they can come under control, and the mind also can come under control. So this is what Krishna is trying to explain. Let's do verse number 19. One is understood to be in full knowledge, whose every endeavor is devoid of desire for sense gratification. He is said by sages to be a worker for whom the reactions of work have been burned up by the fire of perfect knowledge. See, so one is understood to be in full knowledge. That means if a person is working or performing actions but has no desire to enjoy the fruits or no desire for sense gratification, that means that person has attained full knowledge, has no propensity to enjoy the senses, which means all his reactions have been burned up by the fire of perfect knowledge. Just like and the knowledge, like fire, burns up reactions. See, so knowledge is very important, because knowledge can help us to purify our senses. We have tried to satisfy our senses for a long time, but we still don't get any satisfaction. That's because the senses are not under control. That's like adding fuel to the fire, and the fire is going to burn more. So it's important to understand that senses can never be satisfied. They need to be engaged properly. Once the senses are engaged properly, then there's going to be full satisfaction. It's like, let's take an example that I have a plant, or I have a tree in my backyard, and I really want it to grow more, to bear fruits and flowers. All I need to do is just water the roots. When I water the roots of the tree, the whole tree gets nourished, right? Similarly, when we put food in the stomach, the whole body gets nourished. So similarly, when we try to satisfy the Supreme Lord Krishna, then we automatically will get satisfied. The problem is that there is, a lot of greed. So greed, people are greedy for more and more and more. They don't have the knowledge how to curb these propensities. That knowledge is missing. So here Krishna is talking about full knowledge, and Bhagavad Gita gives us that full knowledge. All the 18 chapters, beautifully Krishna explains karma yoga, jnana yoga, dhyana yoga, ashtanga yoga, bhakti yoga. All the whole yoga ladder is explained in the Bhagavad Gita. And he also gives us the process by which we can control our mind, we can control our senses, purify ourselves, and get qualified, become qualified, so we can go back to the spiritual world. And this all will be possible when the reactions come to a stop. We need to stop the cycle of action and reaction, action and reaction. Until and unless we stop this cycle, there will be no peace of mind, there will be no happiness. So when we hear Bhagavad Gita regularly, then we try to understand, contemplate on it, contemplate on what we hear, and then put it into practice. And that will help us. Let's see verse number 20. Abandoning all attachment to the results of his activities, ever satisfied and independent, he performs no fruitive action, although engaged in all kinds of undertakings. See, this is the perfect situation. This is called karma-free work. The first point Krishna is mentioning is to be detached from the results of activities. When we get so attached to, those results. Oh, I'm going to do this so I can get this, so I can get a promotion, or I can get a raise in my salary. That all is good, but that greed, that brings us back into the cycle of action and reaction, action and reaction. So here Krishna is giving, the first point is that we have to be detached to the results of activities and be satisfied in all situations. As I explained earlier, Krishna also says the same thing. Based on our past karma, we are right now getting whatever we are getting, whether it is happiness or distress, whether it is suffering or peace, or whatever it may be, situation is based on our past activities. So there's no point in getting so attached to the results of the activities. We need to be satisfied and not work so that I can enjoy the fruits. No, we still do the best. We still do our best, right? But we do not crave for the results of those activities. So it's just a matter of changing the consciousness. That's all. It's not that we have to change our place of work, or we have to change our family or our country, or no, there's nothing that needs to be changed except the consciousness. And to change the consciousness, the first step is mantra meditation. When we do the mantra meditation, that helps us to purify our heart. And then the unwanted things in the heart, like lust, anger, greed, pride, they all come out from the heart. The heart becomes purified like a mirror. And then when we look in that mirror, we can see our true self, our true identity. So here Krishna is advising Arjuna to do his prescribed duty to the best ability and be unattached. That is called a karma. You see, we do not have to give up our work just because we are afraid of reactions. Oh, I'm not going to work because there are going to be reactions. No. Krishna told Arjuna, you got to fight. That's your prescribed duty. You are a soldier, you're a kshatriya. You need to fight, but just change the consciousness. Do your prescribed duty, but change the consciousness. Let's do the last verse for today, which is verse number 21. Such a man of understanding acts with mind and intelligence perfectly controlled, gives up all sense of proprietorship over his possessions, and acts only for the bare necessities of life. Thus working, he is not affected by sinful reactions. Here's the formula, here's the process. How to not get into that cycle of sinful reactions, how to come out of it, or how not to be affected by it. First of all, Krishna says the mind and the intelligence have to be perfectly controlled. How? We need guidance. Only when we get guidance, proper guidance, then they will be able to train us in the process, how not to be attached to the fruits, how not to have a sense of proprietorship, right? We came empty handed and we are going to go empty handed. We cannot take anything with us. We have to leave everything back here. Nothing belongs to us, really. Everything belongs to the Supreme Lord. So, where's the question of proprietorship? Oh, this is mine, that is mine. Now I'm going to get this, tomorrow I'll get that. That is all a sense of proprietorship. You all must have heard about Alexander the Great, right? Alexander the Great conquered, was so powerful. He conquered so many countries and kingdoms, and he was very, very famous and popular. But when he was about to leave his body, he asked his people that when they bury him, that his hands should be out of the grave, so that people can see that Alexander the Great went empty handed, did not take anything with him. You see? So we need to work, but we need to work for bare necessities. Krishna says he provides for our needs, but not for our greed. So when we work in that consciousness, then there's going to be no sinful reaction. So if we follow the instructions in the Bhagavad Gita, when we understand that we are parts of the Supreme Lord, He is the controller, then we do our prescribed duty, and we understand that we are under His control. Just like, let's take this hand. The hand is part of this body. If I chop off this hand, it's going to be of no use. It's only when it's attached to the body that it has some value, and it works for the whole body. It's not that the hand says, okay, put food only here, I'm going to eat it. Hand cannot eat it. Hand has to understand that the food has to go in the mouth, in the stomach, and then the hand will automatically get nourished. So we are parts of the Supreme Lord, and when we serve Him, satisfy Him, then we also get satisfied because we are part of Him. So Bhagavad Gita is giving us a complete, simple process to show us how to control our mind, how to control our senses, how to lead a karma free life so that there are no more reactions. And this all, excuse me, this all becomes possible with the very first step, which is mantra meditation. When we meditate, when we chant the holy names of the Supreme Lord, then we are able to really control the mind and senses. Excuse me. I have posted here in the chat some of the links if you are interested, but at the bottom you will see the Maha Mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So if we can somehow or the other spend a few minutes every day to do this mantra meditation, then we will see how our mind starts becoming peaceful and we become satisfied. So we can just do this mantra meditation for a few minutes so that you get a hang of it, and maybe you can try it. Maybe just chant this for maybe 10 minutes or more, whatever is convenient. So let's chant for just a few minutes and you can join me. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So this is how we can. It's very, very simple, and it can give us a lot of peace of mind. So my humble suggestion is that you please chant as many times as you can, for as long as you can, and see the difference. So I'm going to stop here now. If anyone has any questions, you're welcome to ask.